It's a veggie BLT pita! I totally suck at video games, but love to play them anyway. Aloha! VeggiePeta here with another top 8 for you. Last month, for Valentine's Day, I went over some otome games, which cater primarily to women. So for March, in honor of White Day, this top 8 will feature games that have you play as a male protagonist and court the ladies, and occasionally a man as well. There are a ton of dating sims on PC, but since I play console games, I limited the list to console and handheld systems only. And while there are actually a few regular dating sims out in English that would fit the requirement, they aren't good. So I decided to take a page out of my otome video and choose games that entwine romance into other gameplay. I didn't want this list to be a repeat of said otome video, since most of those games can star either male or female protagonists, so I took those 10 games out of the equation. And finally, I have to have played or own all the games on the list, so if I miss an obvious choice, that may be why. For this video, I'll give a brief rundown of each game while showing pictures of the possible romantic options. Without further ado, here are my top 8, with 2 honorable mentions, dating sims on consoles. Now, I know I just said I didn't want repeats from my otome top 8, but the Harvest Moon series has been a forefather and staple of dating sim type games coming to the US. Harvest Moon 64 stars only a male protagonist, so it counts as an honorable mention. Like most Harvest Moon games, you start out with an old farm and a field. Days are spent fixing the land, growing crops, raising animals, and becoming friends with fellow villagers, including my personal favorite set of bachelorettes from any Harvest Moon game. Harvest Moon 64 was a lot simpler and more laid back than the options out today, which may be why I love it so. Plus, it's the only Harvest Moon I've played to completion. Potpourri is my lady of choice, mostly because she's the cutest, but also because she likes flowers, which you can pick for free. I mentioned in the otome top 8 that I never played the Mass Effect games, but I do own them, and since I had Dragon Age on that list, this one gets Mass Effect as an honorable mention, though specifically Mass Effect 3 since it has the most options to choose from. The climax of the trilogy stars Commander Shepard in a fight to save the universe from the threat of Reapers, alien machines that take a few sample lifeforms before laying waste to the rest. In between bringing peace to warring species and facing moral choices that can affect the final battle, Shepard gets around and has no lack of love to satisfy him. I like that they included some male options, though there could have been more aliens. I haven't played the game, but I've seen enough of it to know I'd choose either Kaiden or Jack to get between my Shepard's sheets. Dragon Quest V: Hand of the Heavenly Bride is number 8 because it probably has the least romance. Dragon Quest games are very strong when it comes to their gameplay, this particular one introducing the concept of adding monsters you fight to your party, which was novel for the time. But their characters and stories are rarely deep. Playing as the hero, you start as a boy, then move on about 10 years where you adventure a bit more before choosing a bride. The DS version has 3 bridal options, and the wife you choose will slightly change how your children turn out, whom you then fight with against evil. As for my choice in wife, I go for Bianca since she looks the most competent. The Persona games are a favorite of mine, and number 7 for this list is Persona 4 Golden. Soji Seta, or Yu Narukami, or whatever you want to call him, has to figure out who is trying to kill people in the little town of Inaba, getting sucked into the TV and a shadow world with new friends who gain the power of Persona in order to save future victims. The hero also forms social links to make his persona stronger, and many of these links are lovely ladies that you can date. You don't need to date the ladies to get their links, which is why this game is higher up on the list, but it is a nice option with some cute scenes. During my game, I once again was a Mac Daddy pimp and dated all the ladies at once, my favorite being Rise, though Ayane came in close second thanks to her love of the trombone. Akiba's Trip, Dead and Undressed is number 6, and a special game. The hero becomes a vampiric creature at the beginning of the game, and is recruited by an organization to help take out the bad vampire people. To do this, you go out in Akihabara and beat suspects up, stripping them of their clothes to expose them to the sun and killing them. It's a terribly nerdy and fan service filled game, which is why it's so great. There are 4 official ladies you can have romantic outcomes with, if you make the right choices between beating and stripping people, but my choice is the 5th and total Japan weird fetish option of Nana, the protagonist's sister. It isn't a romantic ending, but it's still a little too close for comfort. Even so, she has the coolest look and attitude to me, so she's my choice. Phantasy Star III falls in with the choose a wife and play as a new generation crowd of games like Dragon Quest V, but Phantasy Star III is number 5 on the list because the options you choose can change the story quite a bit. The first generation protagonist has 2 choices, but each one produces a different son with different stories, who then also have a choice of 2 possible wives, which means the 3rd generation hero could be one of 4 distinct possible sons, depending on how you play the game. It's a neat concept, and it means the romantic partner you pick actually matters in the game. Each generation's hero goes on a quest to stop evil, with old friends making cameos and becoming party members through each storyline. I haven't beaten this one, but I think I like marrying Maya in the 1st generation, then Sari for the 2nd. Thousand Arms gets number 4, and was probably the first game labeled as a dating sim to come to the United States. Mice is the hero and is the chosen one to stop the Dark Acolytes from bringing chaos to the world, thanks to his ability to forge spirit weapons. To forge better weapons, however, Mice needs to go on dates with ladies and deepen their bond. The game tried to give a reason for having a dating sim mixed up in the traditional RPG gameplay, which I respect, but unfortunately the gameplay wasn't good enough for most RPG fans, and the dating sim part was a little ahead of its time for the US, though I give Atlas credit for trying. And it made niche fans like myself happy. You're actually encouraged to date multiple women in order to make better weapons, some of whom are in your battle party, and others whom are not, and also have a lot less official artwork, so sorry about that. I think my favorite is Wina, mostly because the eye patch is a fake and switches sides during some dates. Record of Undressed hits the number 3 spot, and it runs in a similar vein to Dragon Quest V and Phantasy Star III in that there are different generations to play, each protagonist changing depending on which lovely lady the previous protagonist selects. Though unlike Phantasy Star III, the new protagonist has the same story no matter the mother, just different stats. Record of Undressed does take things further and has 5 generations to play through. I honestly forget most of the story. I'm sure it involves fighting evil of some sort, and the gameplay consists mostly of very slow, very tedious strategy RPG battles in between plot points. There are also dialogue options to get closer to your lady of choice in each generation, with some fan servicey scenes included. The box for this game had some awesome pictures, causing a few retailers to keep it behind closed doors, and the collector's edition came with one of the best mousepads I've ever used, but the game itself? Not that great, sorry. Despite all that, it's toward the end of this list because the main draw of the game is romancing the different women, rather than the story or battles. I could never slog through the 1st generation, let alone 5. However, based on looks alone, I'd go for Elaine, Sharufanir, Fina, then Sylvie. 5th generation boy gets whoever's left. Number 2 is Conception 2, and boy did I not think this game would make it to the Western Shores. The hero is a student at an academy created to train warriors to enter labyrinths and help stop monsters from harming people. And of course our hero is special in that he has more star power than anyone's seen before, giving him access to the top ladies in the school so they can classmate. Classmating consists of holding hands and pouring star power into a Matryoshka-type doll, which then creates star children that can fight, as not everyone can enter the labyrinths. To get better star children, you need to have a more intimate relationship with your partner, which is where the dating sim part comes into play. It's important to level up the relationship between the hero and most of the girls in order to get better star children, and there is a possible harem ending, but by the end you should be most intimate with one girl and take her to the Star Festival. My choice is Narika, as she reminds me of Orihime from Bleach. The number 1 choice is Sakura Wars, So Long My Love. The Sakura Wars series has a long history in Japan, but I think this was the first, and sadly only, game in the series to be brought stateside. The protagonist is Shinjiro Taiga, a Navy officer who takes up residence in an all-female theater troupe that also happen to pilot steampunk-esque mechs that fight against an evil organization. The battles are a mix between strategy and action, and are actually done quite well. Instead of battle experience leveling you up, however, power is gained from interacting with the lady pilots of the theater troupe. This is done using LIPS, which stands for Live and Interactive Picture System. This is the dating sim aspect of the game, and it's done nicely. It's not always easy to pick which choice will make your lady happiest. There are plenty of scenes and CGs to collect for each of the women, encouraging replaying the game to see what you missed. The mix between battles and the dating sim mode is good, and both parts are enjoyable, which is why this game is number 1. And my number 1 choice is Subaru, because who can resist the possible trap option? There you have it, my top 8, with 2 honorable mentions, dating sims on consoles. I know these are only partially dating sims, but hopefully you liked my choices anyway. Japan has been incorporating dating sims into their games for decades, so I'm glad it's finally starting to pick up in the US. If I didn't include your favorite dating sim-esque game here, let me know what it is in the comments, on Twitter, or Facebook, and I'll check it out. These kind of games are fun, and while I may rarely finish them, I'm more than happy to expand my dating sim knowledge. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed!